Thanks for joining us throughout we cover a range of topics on this show. We go from the ridiculous to the sublime and everything in between. News, markets, and politics are usually on the menu, but we also talk about all the collateral effects of certainly the pandemic for a while now. And there is mounting evidence that the collateral effects in the mental health area on youth not being in school, not getting those interpersonal relationships, not getting diversity in their socioeconomic relationships is really hurting kids. And to break that down, one of the best, because she's America's psychiatrist, Carole Lieberman joins us again. Doc, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
She is a Beverly Hills psychiatrist, award-winning, best-selling author, trained at NYU with Bellevue and Freud's London Clinic. She's done it all, okay? And she lives in I Dream of Jeannie's bottle, at least on Friday when she comes to us. But, Doc, nearly half of parents in a recent poll said their kids were harmed in the mental health area significantly since the pandemic.
Yes, that's an interesting statistic, because really what that means is the other half isn't looking closely enough. All teens have been damaged, some more than others. Some it's new damage, new psychological problems. Some it's an exacerbation of problems that were lying dormant. But really, the key here is parents needing to be more watchful of what is really going on with their kids. It's not just a phase, that's what a lot of times parents, because they are afraid to acknowledge that really maybe there's something serious going on, they think, oh, well, this is just a phase, or this is going to get better when the pandemic is over. And we're going to have all of us are going to have new problems when the pandemic is over.
There are new problems springing up every day, Doc. You got places. You want to talk about stress on kids? What about us adults? You got the CDC coming out and saying, hey, if you get the vaccination, you're good. And at the same time, they're telling you still wear 2 masks. So like your mind, it's the conundrum right off the bat, even for adults.
Yes, it is so crazy making, listening to all of these different pieces of advice from Fauci to the CDC to various politicians. I mean, you could go crazy just if you're trying to do the right thing, you'd be like a cartoon doing all these different things, twirling around in circles. You really have to choose, be informed, but decide what is right for yourself. And that includes whether you want to get the vaccine or not get the vaccine.
Now, Doc, I every week do a segment on Wednesday called Woman Wednesday, where we try to highlight women in business, politics, the arts, health, all this other stuff. We focus on it. I always say, I know women are smarter, women are the majority, women are healthier, women live longer. But in this study here, more parents of teen girls than boys reported an increase in anxiety, with 36% of parents of girls saying that they had more anxiety and only 19% of boys. Is there any reason this would affect girls more than boys?
Well, I don't think that the pandemic is necessarily affecting girls more than boys, although girls are more social in general, and miss the lack of school and ability to be with their friends more. But I think also there's a general sense that parents don't necessarily see the emotions going on in boys. Boys are more, stiff upper lip and all of that.
Got it. So
parents don't want to see.
This may be more a failure of proactive reporting than a disparity in the effects, because boys, the parents are like, I know my son, if I text him, he answers me. I'm sitting in the car with him. It's like pulling teeth to get words out of his mouth. They sometimes want to text him when he's sitting next to me to get his attention, but boys are like, if the parents say, hey, are you okay? Are you feeling anything throughout the pandemic? Boys are like, whatever. You know what I mean?
Yes,
whatever.
Yes,
Girls like, well, Mom, I have to tell you, so maybe it's because the females are more expressive and they're more, they're more able to express themselves, and boys are like, ugh.
Yes, and also boys, hide it. When they're feeling anxious, they turn more to video games, violent video games. And, that is going to be expressed after the pandemic when they go back to school and are more aggressive because of more hours of violent video games. We're going to be seeing that effect.
So let me ask you this on the video game front, because I agree with you. These video games are engineered to manipulate the kids' minds to seek a dopamine release. That's what these video games are all about. They're mind controlling. But the games get these kids violent. They go out and do crazy things. You had this young man who went on a complete spree of killing. All these shootings at the sex worker shops and stuff. And immediately the mainstream media says racism. Is this racism or is this a sexaholic gone mad?
That is such an interesting case for so many reasons. First of all, the racism. He had hardly been trapped, been caught when already it was supposed to be a racist crime. Our society is just going crazy on racism. If people have been saying, oh, there's going to be a race war, there is a race war. And a good example of this is what came out on The Root and the online publication written by Damon Young. He has written, he wrote Whiteness is a Pandemic. He has just gone on and on about how, whites are the root of all evil. And he wrote, let me read you, he wrote, white supremacy is a virus that, like other viruses, will not die until there are no bodies left for it to infect, which means the only way to stop it is to locate it, isolate it, extract it, and kill it. So what he's saying is kill all white people. Now, how is this allowed to be online? And yes, it has been called out for being racist. But can you imagine if a white person wrote that anywhere about a black person, kill all blacks?
No, I can't. Look, it's difficult for me and you to even weigh in on this because you don't know how far the cancel culture goes, but there's definitely a pronounced double standard for where racism is allowed and accepted and disallowed. So, no, many of the things, if you did a binary Rorschach test, good or bad, you'd say this is bad, that's bad. You know what I mean? And we can't do it, so I got to dance around it. But It should be what's good for the goose is good for the gander. That's what America tells us, and that's what all this equal rights and equal protection and diversity is all about. So you can't still get a priority to do whatever you want and then want to hold everyone else accountable. That's not what our parents teach us. Absolutely.
And it's just, we see it every day, whatever the news is, there's another example of this double standard, like you're saying, and the cancel culture and all of that. But, this guy, Robert Aaron Long, he is an interesting guy. He said that this is why he did it was because he wanted to wipe out temptation because he's a sex addict and he's been in treatment for being a sex addict. He's not just saying it, but his family is very religious. And so they threw him out of the house the night before he went on this spree. And, which is another example of proving tough love doesn't work. Parents who throw their kids out, whether they're addicted to alcohol, sex, pornography, whatever it is, they think that there's this school of thought telling the parents, oh, well, just get rid of them, throw them out, tell them that this is not okay in your house. And it always ends in disaster.
It's getting crazier by the minute. And, honestly, I think I might have told you this once before, but my son told me last year that he thought not being in school was making him dumber. And I think, younger people's minds are still malleable in these years. And with all the things that have pushed upon, look, I'm not making excuses. Allegedly, the guy's a murderer. But I don't think it was race. I think, he had something wrong with his brain mentally.
Absolutely.
And because he was a sexaholic going to all these places, he thought he could end his addiction by taking them out, which is crazy, but that's how it seems to me.
Well, it's too early to diagnose him exactly, except it's what's called concrete thinking. To think that if you wipe out the thing that is the source of your temptation, then you won't have any more temptation and you'll be okay. So that is, whether it's schizophrenia or manic depressive illness or whatever, it is a psychotic way of thinking.
Got it. So if I wipe out what's destroying me Friday, okay, then I can be on my path. But this was a gift from a friend. It's a Dos Equis beer. You know, the most interesting man in the world drinks Dos Equis beer. And I only drink Dos Equis beer when I have the most interesting psychiatrist in the world on with me. Dr. Carole, thank you very much. You have a great weekend. You're the best. Dr. Carole Lieberman, America's psychiatrist, with us, letting you a little insight into the mind of a madman, which you get every day by watching Liquid Lunch and me. So stay right there, and we'll have a little more Liquid Lunch for you right after this.